Hello everyone and welcome. I hope you've been enjoying the lovely Mighty Melvo's Paws and Claws 48-hour charity stream. This is Autopsy of a Crime Mag. Now, sadly I'm not going to be on screen. You're just going to hear my voice. It's just because I am a tiny bit nervous because, guys, this is my first time. I know you might not think it, but yeah, this is my first time ever having my own stream. I've played a game on someone else's account, but this is completely new territory for me. So please be gentle. But yeah, I'm a girl who's been interested in reading true crime magazines for a while. I've been collecting them since 2019. But I've been interested in watching true crime documentaries on Crime Investigation Channel, and on True Crime Discovery since age 11, I'd say. But yeah, true crime is something that I'm interested in talking about. Obviously, there'll be no glorifying any killers or any crimes, and there will also be no taking the mickey out of victims or victims' families. Basically, what I've done is taken sections out of a crime magazine, like I say I like to read, which is called Crime Monthly. I've taken pictures of them, I've popped them on screens, and basically we're going to go through each article. I'm going to try and add as much extra information as I can. I have done my research, but if I'm wrong, you can say it's not a problem. If I've if I've got a date wrong or I've got a name wrong, more than welcome to say that in the chat box, and that's cool. But yeah, just please be kind. Also, like I say, we are here for Paws and Claws, put on by the lovely Mighty Melvo, my Denver daddy, the lovely Russian gentleman. So yeah, I'd really like to say thanks to him for inviting me to this stream. Like I say, this is my first time, so I really want to thank you for this opportunity. And yeah, let's get right into this, guys. So the first thing that we are going to be looking at today is a crime that happened in Aurora, Colorado, and I call this section Dissection of a Crime Scene. So, this one, this section, sorry, not this one. This section is the Aurora cinema shooting. On July 20th, 2012, James Holmes walked into a Century 16 cinema in Aurora, Colorado, and bought a ticket for the midnight screening of The Dark Knight Rises. He took a seat in the front row, but only watched 20 minutes of the film, before leaving through an emergency exit. Then, 10 minutes later, he walked back in, dressed head to toe in bulletproof clothing. He threw 2 gas canisters into the darkened room, the smoke disorientating the moviegoers, before opening fire with 3 weapons. The assault killed 12 people and injured 70 others. Now, when I did a little bit of research, the reason he picked a midnight showing was because he said in a notebook I believe he gave to a therapist that he didn't want to harm any children, and also he picked this cinema because he was able to barricade the emergency exit, and that then meant that he could herd everybody together and get hurt as many people as possible. The address was Century 16 Cinema, Colorado. There were 400 people packed in the Batman screening that night. Witnesses' reports say that when Holmes entered dressed in black tactical clothing and a gas mask, some people thought it was a stunt for the film. Holmes shot at the back of the room first, then opened fire on the aisles. Many films have had, obviously, there's times where there's, I don't know if anyone's seen it on YouTube, where when The Nun, which is a movie by James Wan, basically they're looking in a mirror and doing their makeup, and the next minute, the nun pops up and they're like, oh my God, but then actually the nun's behind them, and then they're tapped on the shoulder, and then they're literally like crapping themselves. So obviously there has been times where you know, movies, or I don't know if it's the movies or actually the, probably like the production company or whatever, put on events like, you know, Jack Sparrow being at Disneyland, stuff like that, you know, Johnny Depp being Jack Sparrow at Disneyland. So, you know, it's understandable why some people probably thought, oh, this is probably like, you know, a movie stunt, or, you know, something to promote the movie. But yeah, it's very sad how this occurred. He got the weapons, I believe, over a 3-month span. These weapons were free weapons. And apparently it malfunctioned after Holmes had fired 65 rounds. And he actually bought these legally. So that meant that they had done background tests. From what I read on the internet, they had done background tests and they came back fine. So yeah, let's move on to the actual arrest in the car park. Shortly after the attack, Holmes was arrested without a fight in the cinema's car park, which was directly outside the emergency exit he had left the screening by. Blood trails can be seen by the car. Police searched the vehicle and found weapons. Officers described Holmes being as calm as being calm when he was arrested. Yeah, I obviously you can't see what is in the man's mind. Obviously, he's a very unwell individual. When I did some research, his family life seems relatively normal. His mum was a registered nurse. His father was a mathematician and a scientist and went to various universities and got various degrees. And he also has a sister called Chris. But yeah, basically, from the age of 11, things started to change. He started to get suicidal thoughts. And also, I believe he did try to commit suicide. Then after that, while he was at university, he did see therapists and admitted to them that he wanted to harm others. And also admitted that he wanted to hurt large groups of people. But before the actual crime, one of his therapists did call for an emergency assessment. I believe this assessment did go through, and I think he did go to a hospital. Correct me if I'm wrong, obviously. I'm trying to remember this as much as I can, because I've actually forgotten my notes. But as far as I'm aware, she did do an assessment. It was sent off. It was dealt with, but he was taken to a facility where he could leave of his own free will. So yeah, I'm not sure. I can't remember how long before this. I can't remember how long ago the event was before the actual shooting. Obviously, like I say, if any of my information's wrong, because I'm trying to remember off the top of my head because I've forgotten my notes, then you could just say in the chat box, all right? But yeah, let's move on. There's also evidence, which is one of these evidence is the booby-trapped apartment. As you can see, the little black balls, there's like, it seems to be wires and like, I'm guessing they're empty Sprite bottles because it looks plastic. But anyways, before leaving the cinema, Holmes set up booby traps in his flat, including wiring up an explosive device to the front door. This was disarmed when police arrived, and a remote-controlled robot was used to disarm the other devices. Police later found 30 homemade grenades filled with gasoline. Reports state loud music was coming from the flat that night. Neighbours who went to complain found the door was unlocked, but thankfully nobody answered. Yeah, it'd be I'm guessing that would have been a completely different series of events if they'd have answered that door the night before. But yeah, obviously you can see it seems that he had a very big MO. Like I say, for a long while, he had spoken about wanting to hurt masses of people, massive groups. He also stated in a notebook that he gave to one of his therapists, I think when not long before he got arrested. I believe he sent it to her at university, but it wasn't actually given to her. It was like in a pigeonhole somewhere. But I believe in that notebook he did write that he didn't want to do it at an airport because he didn't want people to think it was an act of terrorism. He wanted people to think that, you know, it was a sort of, you know, a man who just wanted to watch the world burn. Kind of thing. It, like, you know, I'm guessing he's trying to relate it back to Batman because, as you can see, his hair is red in the above. Then it actually says in the article, James Holmes, a PhD student, neuroscientist, in neuroscience, sorry, he's not a neuroscientist, let me correct myself. A PhD student in neuroscience, 6'3". Holmes has been seeing a psychiatrist before the attack, and one told the court that he had confessed to having homicidal thoughts. He pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, but was convicted of murder. Now aged 31, this was back in 2019, so 31, 32, 33, 34, so he'll be 34 now, was convicted of murder and is now serving 12 life sentences without the possibility of parole. Yeah, basically, like I was saying about the whole sort of Batman-related thing, the Batman-related incident, you know, the fact that there's a Batman mask at home. He also dyed his hair orange, and many people... apparently some reports stated that he referred himself to the Joker. But yeah, like, the Joker is very well known for having, like, I think it's originally bright green hair. But obviously some clowns have bright orange hair. But yeah, this is a very sad case because obviously 12 people lost their lives, and there's also 70 people who are injured from this, obviously not physically, but mentally as well. But yeah, James Holmes had obviously planned this for a long while, because as previous psychiatrists and therapists had stated, when he had seen them, that he had admitted he had homicidal thoughts, thoughts of wanting to hurt masses of people. So yeah, it's a very sad story. James Holmes is still in prison, but yeah, it's just like I say, it's a very sad story. You know, innocent people lost their lives, and it feels like it could have easily been, you know, prevented because he had spoken to therapists beforehand and things. I don't know, things seem to... obviously, there is patient confidentiality, and, you know, because I've been to therapy myself. Obviously, I'm not a mass murderer and I don't have homicidal thoughts. But I do know there is obviously confidentiality, etc. But you'd think that if someone obviously is speaking about having homicidal thoughts, wanting to hurt masses of people, then you would think that they would then be like, oh, we better do something about this. Like I said, one of his therapists did. But obviously you can say from what I remember, one of his therapists did do something about it, but he actually walked out of the facility, as far as I remember. So yeah, this section is this section's all been covered now. Obviously, if anyone has any extra information they want to add, please do. But also, please, let's try and be factual. Obviously, people have opinions on things, but try and obviously also be aware of other people. We're going to try and keep this chat relatively positive, because obviously this is for a positive cause. But what we'll do is to move on to something a little bit more light-hearted. I've put a little something together. I've put all the paws and claws that I actually know. So these lovely creatures are all the paws and claws that I know in my life. These beauties, I know they're all just fantastic, and oh my god, like literally I'm so upset because I'm not actually allowed a pet in my home, my landlord doesn't allow it, and to be honest with you, I don't really afford it, and I also have a full-time job, so I don't really have the time for a pet, sadly. But I love it when I'm able to, you know, babysit them. I still say babysit. People say pet sit or, you know, dog sit. I'm like, nah, it's babysitting still, because they're babies. They're just amazing. So I thought that I'd go through each picture. I'll tell you a little something about him, just because this is for Paws and Claws. So I thought that I would show you my paws and claws in my life. So let's start off with the lovely dashing gentleman in the on the red sofa. His name is Percy. Well, his actual full name is Percival. He was named after one of the Knights of the Round Table. If anyone has ever heard of that story, it's a pretty cool story. But yeah, he's basically one of the Knights of the Round Table, and he's my dad's dog. He lives in Cyprus, and if I haven't already said, he's an Airedale Terrier. He loves to just laze about. That probably could be because it is really hot over there. But he also likes going in the sea, which is awesome, and it's so cute to see him when he's like splashing around, and he's just in his element, which is awesome. Then we move on to the lovely China. Now, I don't know, I've actually named this cat. I don't know where this cat lives. I don't know who owns this cat. But this cat likes to come and visit me. It's so funny because literally I'll sometimes just go, China, and you'll just hear it, meow. And I'm like, oh my God, okay, he's near. And you'll just hear this sort of meowing, like approaching. And then he'll like jump over the fence and just bolt it into my kitchen. And then he literally rubs himself all over the fridge because he knows that's where I keep the ham. Because I hate to, well, I'm going to admit it, I actually do feed him. I know it's naughty. But he just, he has the cutest meow, and I like to treat him. To be honest with you, he can be a little bit temperamental, but he does give the biggest love I can think of. Like, he is just so... Sorry guys, something's just popped up on my screen. There we go. China is just hilarious, and I called him China because there was a song I liked at the time, and it was basically one of the lines from the song was I think it was, I'm a diss a bitch like China did Rob, and it's obviously referencing to Black China being with Rob Kardashian, and so I thought, oh, that's actually pretty funny, so I thought I'd call that cat China because sometimes China treats me like a bitch. Anyways, moving on. We move on to the lovely Macy, who is a Jack Russell. Macy is 14 years old, and she is my uncle's dog. I see her pretty regularly when I visit my nan, because my uncle works full time and my nana loves to have the company. She obviously is an old biddy now, the dog. I'm not calling my nan an old biddy. I love her. But yeah, she is an old biddy, but I would never say that to her. No one tell my nanny, please. But anyways, Macy is an old biddy. So she does like to sort of sleep most of the day now, and one of her eyes is closed, so she just has one eye. But she's living her best life. She takes her medicine every morning, and my nana always treats her to like bits of beef. Like the other day, it was so funny. I went round for burgers and chips around my nana's, and she basically had cooked a little burger for the dog. I thought she'd actually made 2 burgers for me. No, she actually made me 1 burger, and one of the burgers was for the dog. But yeah, it's so cute because obviously, like I do with China, we all like to treat our animals. Obviously, we've got to be a bit careful with what we give them. But we do love to treat them. And excuse me, just while I take a sip of drink. But I just love Macy. She's been around for such a long time. She's never really been a cuddly dog. Like, she likes to sort of have her space, but now she can't see. If you touched her, she'd jump, which is really sad. But apart from that, she is actually living her best life, and she just lazes her days around my nana's house. And next up, we have the lovely black and white cat, which is known as Noodle. Noodle was named basically Noodle is my sister's best friend's cat. Her son named him. Named her, sorry. Noodle is a girl, let me reiterate that. He just liked the name Noodle. So Noodle is named Noodle for the reason of she's a cute noodle. Noodle likes to watch people in the bath, which is a little weird. But also Noodle loves cuddles with her mum. Noodle is a very cuddly kitty. She also likes to go out and explore as well. I don't think she's ever gone missing, luckily. But yeah, she loves being at home with her mummy and daddy and her brother as well. And then next up, we have a young pup called Lola. Lola is a French bulldog. Lola is owned by my sister and she is 1 year old. Lola loves giving you kisses. Lola also loves playing tug of war. Lola is also very close to my niece, which is really sweet. She follows her like a shadow, which is very adorable. But we obviously make sure that they're not left alone together and stuff like that, because obviously you've got to be careful with dogs. We love our dogs. We trust, obviously I trust dogs, but there's always a precaution. Anyways, moving on. Below Lola, we have a wonderful lady called Sammy. Sammy actually means a lot to me. Sammy is one of my best friend's dogs. Sadly, Sammy isn't with us anymore. But when I was a lot younger and I first met one of my best friends, I had a really awful time in town. I had a horrible panic attack. And I had to, we were meant to go back to college. My friend phoned and said, look, we can't make it. This is what's happened. They completely understood. And she took me back to hers to get something to eat and to relax. Went in the door, and the next minute I was just attacked by fluff and love. That's all I can say is just fluff and love. I sat down on the sofa behind. Actually, I don't think that was the original sofa. I lie. I think the original sofa was actually black. Yeah, I think it was a black sofa, actually. Anyways, that's not relevant. But, and I just sat there, and the next minute I know, this massive, lovely, slobbery fluff ball just landed on me, and she wouldn't leave me. And it sounds silly, but it just felt like she could sense that something wasn't right, and I just needed some comforting, and she gave me the best comfort in the world. And this photo is actually the last photo that we took before she was taken to the vets. She became very unwell. She was, I want to say she was 8. I might be wrong. Obviously, if any of my mates are watching this, you're obviously correct me on anything that I've said. If anything I've said about your animals is wrong, correct me. But yeah, Sammy became unwell, and she was even loving up until the last minutes. Do you know what I mean? She was always just leaning in and making, it's just I don't know, it's like she knew. And like I say, I've never stopped thinking about her, to be honest. When I've had down days or even happy days, she used to come visit me sometimes, and just lay on my sofa, just lay right in the corner, which, is really adorable. And like I say, sometimes you just need something there, and that something can be an animal, and animals can give us purpose. Animals can give us love, and it's unconditional love, man. Obviously they want food. There's times where they beg and you think, oh, you look adorable, don't you? But at the end of the day, they do give us unconditional love, and we don't deserve them, and I think we should treat them like the Egyptians used to treat their cats, like they're gods, you know what I mean? But anyways, obviously Sammy is no longer with us, but I thought I'd put her on here as she is just magical. Anyways, moving on, we have the lovely nanny dog. called Ruby. I call her a nanny because she is very old. She has a few lumps and bumps and quite a few grey hairs, and we call her the Pig Princess and the Frog Princess. Well, Piggy Frog Princess, because she makes these weird noises. Like, it's so funny. Like, she's like, I'll try and do an impression. She's like that. Like, literally, she does them, like, sort of weird snuffly noises. She loves her Kong filled with peanut butter. And also, she loves going on the beach. She was attacked once by a seal, which was really sad. But to be honest with you, that was with her previous owner, because she was actually given to my partner's dad, my partner's dad's wife, when she was, I was going to say 6. And she actually got attacked by a seal, I think, while she was with a previous owner, if I remember correctly. Like I say, if anyone I know watching this, if I've gotten it wrong, please say. But yeah, Ruby's a lovable lady. Moving on, we have Boyd. Sadly, Boyd is no longer with us. He was my partner's mother's dog. He was just wonderful. He loved watching the telly, which is hilarious. He really did. He also loved, there was one time when everyone was out of the room and he jumped on the table and was caught with his face in the gravy bowl. He was very mischievous, but in a lovable way, and he never liked being taken off the bed because that was his comfort space. So he'd do a little growl and then you'd have to like tap his butt a little, like, come on dude, and then he'd eventually get off. But Boyd, what an incredible dog. He was fantastic. And then we have the wonderful Oscar. Now, Oscar is my brother's cat. Now, you see Oscar there. He looks so, like, you know, he's like, boop, just boop. So adorable. Like, I just want to give him little head pats. This is where all, like, the head pat emojis come up. Like, emotes, sorry. Like, they will start coming up and all the little cute ones. But actually, he is a little bit of a demon. I say this because I'm scared to walk past him on the stairs because he will actually swipe your legs. Sometimes he'll be nice. Sometimes he won't be. It's really up to him. It's like, you know, he'll come to you when he's ready, but also you have to be a little bit cautious because he'll be fine for a while, but when he's had enough, he'll just go and like go to bite you, and it's just like, dude, come on, like you could have just got up and left like every other cat I know. But yeah, he can be a tiny bit vicious, but I love him anyways, and I love all of them. There's probably a few I've missed out, but as you saw at the beginning, there was a few on the slides which I'll quickly go to if my mouse would like to cooperate. Just bear with me. Bear with me. Excuse my terrible singing. I was trying to like, do you know when you're on the phone, you're like, here we go. I was going to say, do you know when like you're waiting on the end of a phone and it's like that horrible music where it's like, please wait, you are number 5 in the call queue. Thank you for waiting. And it's like, or it's like, one of them is, the one for my doctors is horrible. It's dum 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 dum, and it's, imagine it being on piano. But yeah, I've got a horrible deep voice, so I don't do piano impressions very well. But here we go. I'll quickly show you the front screen again. Now, the gentleman on the right, his name is Jimmy. He is originally from Portugal, and he is a mixed breed, I believe. I don't know from the top of my head. But he is a wonderful dog. He doesn't like his head being touched much, but he loves digging a massive hole. Like, literally, he will dig to Australia if he could. But he loves digging holes. And, like, I don't know if I've said, but he is my partner's brother's dog and his wife's. And, yeah, he loves going on the beach. He loves digging massive holes. And he's just incredible. And then on the left, there is moi, which is me, with Maya as a kitten. Sadly, we don't know where Maya is anymore because actually she went missing around fireworks night, which was really sad. But yeah, there's a picture of the lovely Maya, and I thought I'd put that on there, just to, like I say, remind ourselves what we're here for, which is the Paws and Claws charity stream. Like I've said, if you can donate, please hit that donate button. If you can't, no worries, but please give some notification, obviously, or what I've said it wrong, I think, notification. Donate if you can. I'll leave it there. Donate if you can, please, pretty please. But yeah, so moving on, we will go on to the I call it the step back in time. But actually, I tried to do a Kylie Minogue there. I'm really sorry. It's like step back in time. Sound awful. I probably sound like bloody NSYNC, like it's gonna be May. Sorry, I'm just ranting on now. Right, so this bit is the step back in time. This is a case. I've called it Time Warp, actually. I keep changing it. I don't know why. But yeah, this is called the Time Warp, and this is Babes in the Woods. This was a cold case file, and it was solved after 32 years. I don't have much more information on that. I do believe that the man who actually perpetrated these crimes, or if that's the right word, who actually did these crimes, was a part of the search party, if I remember correctly. This happened in the UK in Brighton. So what I'll do now is I thought I'd read through the magazine article. If anybody has anything to add, obviously, like I say, please go ahead in the chat box and say what you need to. And yeah, just let me know. I'll try and be in the chat box as well, like I say. So yeah, let's move on. I will go to page 53. I have the magazine in front of me. But yeah, I don't know if I've said this before, guys, but the reason I'm not showing my face at the moment is just because like I say, I'm a little bit nervous. But if I do any more streams, if this is successful, if people like it, if people want a little bit more, then I will obviously try and do more. And if I get more confident, you might actually see me in real time, which will be really cool. But anyways, we are now going to move on to the Babes in the Wood case. And yeah, so I'm going to go through this article. So let's go. In 1986, the bodies of two 9-year-old girls, Karen Hadaway and Nicola Fellows, were found dumped in a wooden area of Brighton. They had been sexually assaulted and strangled to death. In a crime that struck fear into the heart of every parent in Britain. Karen and Nicola were best friends. They grew up in Molescombe Estate in Brighton, and they'd play out together after school. But when night fell on October 9th, 1986, and they didn't come home, their families were concerned. So Brighton, if you look at a map of England, Brighton is the the southeast, so it's low down, so it's below Norwich. I don't know, Norwich is above your banana. I believe. Oh my gosh, sorry guys, I'm not literally you wouldn't think I was British, because I'm literally now trying to think of the British, the map of the UK, and I'm like, crap. Yeah, it's in the south of England. It is, I think, it is near Eastbourne. There we go. It's near Eastbourne and that. So if you ever look at a map and you see, it's at the bottom right of it. If you look at the maps, it's at the bottom right. Anyways, moving on. After checking with Nicola's parents, Sue Barry, after checking with Nicola's parents, Sue and Barry, Karen's mum, Michelle, called the police and reported the girls missing. Neighbours formed search parties, and police confirmed the last sighting of the pair was at 6:40 near Wild Park, a local nature reserve. Local man Russell Bishop, then 20, joined the search with his dog Misty. The roofer had a few minor convictions for burglaries, but seemed harmless. Nicola's dad Barry played cricket with Bishop, who had children with his long-term partner. The families were grateful for his help, and the search continued the next day. At 4:20, excuse me. Let me start that again. At 4:20, a hospital porter named Kevin Rowland and his friend Matthew Merchant made a horrifying discovery. Karen and Nicola's bodies were found huddled together in a makeshift den in a secluded area of Wild Park. When the men were called out, Bishop ran towards the scene, but a police officer made sure to keep him from getting too close, so he did not see the bodies. As a murder inquiry was launched, Bishop returned home and told his friend Jeff Caswell that the vision of the girls lying across each other was a sight that he'd never forget. He explained how Karen was lying at a right angle to Nicola and that her head was resting in Nicola's lap. He said that there was a bloody foam on... Okay, right. So this obviously isn't mega gory, but he did state that there was a blood-coloured foam on one of the girls' lips. But he did... foam on Nicola's lips, and he tried for a pulse on the necks of both girls before realising they were both dead. A post-mortem later revealed the horrible truth that the girls had been sexually abused and strangled. Police set about their inquiries when Bishop was interviewed. His account of finding the bodies rang alarm bells. His eerie, accurate descriptions of a crime scene he could not have seen made him the prime suspect. During a search of the surrounding area, police recovered a blue sweatshirt on the route Bishop would have taken from the park. It was submitted as evidence, and on the 3rd of December 1986, Bishop was charged with murder. The following year, he stood trial at Lewes Crown Court, but with DNA technology still in its infancy, forensic experts failed to link the sweatshirt to Bishop, and on the 10th of December 1987, he was found not guilty. So, let me reiterate that. On the 10th of October 1987, he was found not guilty. Afterwards, he said, "I can't stop thinking about these poor girls and the fact that someone, somewhere, is walking the streets knowing they killed them." So 3 years later, in a case that echoed Karen and Nicola's killing, with a chilling similarity, a 7-year-old girl was snatched out while roller skating. She was bundled into a car and driven to Devil's Dyke, just 7 miles from Wild Park. There, she was molested and throttled until she lost consciousness. Her attacker assumed she had died and dumped her body in the bushes, but the girl was later discovered by walkers who said she stumbled towards them like an apparition. I'm guessing, tell me if I'm wrong, apparition, isn't that like a vision? Or like, hold on. Do you know what, guys? Bear with me. I've got to do a little bit of... I've read... do you know what? You wouldn't think I've read these articles before. But it's just in case... Because I look at a word like that and naturally think, oh my God, like... I think I know what apparition is. But I'm just going to quickly... Apparition. Yes, a ghost or a ghost-like image of a person. Okay. Yeah, so it's like literally... bless her. The poor girl was... attacked and basically left for dead. He thought she had died, but the poor girl literally was like stumbling towards the people walking, and so was later discovered by walkers who said she stumbled towards them like an apparition. So yeah, she stumbled towards them like a ghost-like figure. She was like a sort of bless her, poor girl. Bless her, she's only 7. And then after identifying Bishop as her attacker, so the guy who was accused first of all of killing Karen and Nicola was actually, he was then let off. is a few years later then gone ahead in 1991 and done another horrific crime to a young girl who, thank God, survived. But after identifying Bishop as her attacker in the lineup, he was arrested in January 91. The brave victim gave evidence from behind a screen in Lewes Court, Crown Court. Bishop was convicted of kidnapping, indecent assault and attempted murder and sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 14 years. So, obviously, fast forward now. Not obviously. We're now going to fast forward. Meanwhile, the killings of Karen and Nicola, which had become known as the Babes in the Wood murders, remained under review. And in 2005, a change to the law made it possible to prosecute someone for a second time if new evidence became available. So the case had been left for about 20 years by that point. So, yeah, nearly 20 years by that point it had been left. But now there was a new law that came in place, which stated that you can actually, try and convict someone to... Let me start that again. Sorry. Back in 2005, there was a change to law, which then made it possible for someone to prosecute someone a second time for a crime, only if there was, new evidence. So the fact that there could be new evidence, they could retry it. So that was made available, and then 7 years later, in 2012, in August of 2012, evidence was resubmitted for a forensic examination following advances in DNA testing. This time, the blue sweatshirt was categorically linked to Bishop, and fibres from both girls' clothes were found in the jumper. A DNA sample from Karen's forearm was also found to be Bishop's. He was arrested, and a judge ordered a second trial. On the 10th of December 2018, so now 32 years after this tragic event had taken place, Russell Bishop, who was then aged 52, was found guilty of murdering Karen and Nicola exactly 31 years after he'd been acquitted. The family cheered as the judge landed him a life sentence with the minimum of 36 years. So, with the minimum of 36 years, so 50, 60, 70, he'd be like 88 if he was to get out. But obviously there is assessments that I think people make, like they're under review, etc. So it's not... obviously he'll probably die in prison. But then again, though, loads of people live till they're 80. But anyways, you don't know. You never know, do you? Anyways, moving on. So then aged 52, was found guilty of murdering Karen and Nicola exactly 31 years after he'd been acquitted. The families cheered as the judge handed him a life sentence with a minimum of 36 years. Outside the court, Karen's mum, Michelle Johnson, branded Bishop an evil monster and said that it was heartbreaking to hear that their beautiful girls, who had been murdered by someone who they thought they knew and trusted. Nicola's mum, Sue Eastman, added, Russell Bishop is horrible and a wicked man. So yeah, there is actually quite a few cases. If anybody is interested, if anybody has watched like cold cases, etc., there is quite a few times where people will resubmit evidence. Obviously, a long time, years later. Technology in forensic crime didn't really kick off until the 90s, I'd say. Like, obviously they did fingerprinting and stuff, but that's the basic, not like, blood spatter analysis, obviously DNA testing for drugs, all of that kind of stuff was sort of like, it started in the 90s and then obviously it's been flourishing ever since. But now the case is solved, so hopefully the girls' parents can now obviously try and rest easy. Well, not rest easy, let me reiterate that. Hopefully they can have some peace knowing that the person who murdered their children is in jail. So, moving on now, I thought that we could go on to something a little bit more light-hearted. Hi guys, thank you so much for being patient. I just quickly went downstairs to get myself some orange and mango squash because I'm trying to cut down on the Pepsi because it has been boiling hot over here in England at the moment. So, you know, you've got to keep yourself hydrated. So, guys, this is the point where we're now going to move on to celebrities who, a celebrity who has been arrested. Now, in further Crime Monthly editions, they start to do celebrities who've been arrested, and each week they have one celebrity. So I thought I'd bring up one celebrity. Even though they didn't have one in issue 3, I thought I'd just bring one along because I thought, come on, we got to add one. So, the celebrity this evening who has been arrested is Matthew McConaughey. So, Matthew McConaughey, you might know him from Dazed and Confused, where he said his first words on screen, and those words were, alright, alright, alright. He has also been in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days and also the series True Detective. But back in 1999, in October, the date was the 25th, he decided that he wanted to, you know, smoke some drugs, sit at home, play the bongos, and jam along to his stereo that was turned up very, very loud. So yeah, he was sitting there playing his bongos, you know, living his best life, jamming along. And the next thing, in his words, the police broke in. To be honest, they probably knocked loads, didn't they, and rang the doorbell, and they're like, oh, come on, like, you know, I can hear him, he's there. But, you know, he basically, the police arrived, and Matthew McConaughey was naked. He was butt naked. The police asked if he could put some clothes on. He refused, so they arrested him. So in the mugshot, as you can see, he's actually wearing a t-shirt that was provided for him. He actually refused to wear any clothes. But he obviously was arrested, but subsequently he paid a fine of $50. In British money, that would be £34, I think. So yeah, today our celebrity who was arrested is Matthew McConaughey. To be fair, I do actually think Matthew McConaughey is a pretty good actor. But yeah, he basically got arrested back in 99. I don't think he's done anything since. I haven't seen anything anywhere where he has. But yeah, so that was Matthew McConaughey. So guys, if you have if I haven't already done this, because I don't think I have actually, if you don't happen to know who Mighty Melvo is, then here is a little slide to explain. Mighty Melvo, in his own words, I had to take a little picture of Melvo sneakily during a stream, and luckily I got it where they were like Boop and a cat, which was really cute. But Melvo, in his own words, is a variety streamer from Russia. Sometimes he sings, sometimes he doesn't. To be honest, it's amazing when he sings and brings out the guitar. That's like a double whammy. That's incredible. But right now, he is a sucker for Souls games. He usually streams in the evening, Monday to Thursday, with the occasional surprise streams. Stop by whenever you see him live and hang out. So if you can, guys, please give Mighty Melvo a follow. And like I say, we are here for the wonderful Paws and Claws. So let's take it back to the Paws and Claws I know. We are all here for a wonderful cause. We are all here to raise some money for the wonderful animals that are a part of Paws and Claws. So I just want to say to you guys, thank you so much for listening to me ramble on about something that I really like to talk about. If you've been affected by anything that's been spoken about this evening, there are some helplines that are available, accompanied by the lovely Ruby. These are helplines that are available in the UK, Norway, Russia and the USA. The reason I picked these ones was just because I know there is a few people from Russia, there are a few people from, I know myself included, from the UK. and also the USA and Norway. So yeah, I'd really like to give this opportunity to say thank you everybody for listening to me ramble on like I've already said. And yeah, please give my email vote a follow if you can. Sorry, I didn't mean to click on that one. Please give my email vote a follow if you can, and if you can as well, please give me a follow. That would be wonderful. Obviously, depending on what the response is from this video, we will see if there are any other videos from Attack of the Jack. But please remember to boot that donate button, as reminded by the lovely Oscar there. So yeah, guys, I'd really like to say thank you. I hope you enjoy the rest of the 48-hour stream. My name is Attack of the Jack. This has been a wonderful experience for me. I hope you guys have enjoyed yourselves. And yeah, let's keep the conversations going and enjoy the rest of the stream. And thank you guys so much.